Please be sure to listen to this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcast audio listening channels as well. Welcome back to another creepy episode of Creepcast. Ooh.
Are you sure you don't want to actually, talk about how this is a Stretch and Fade episode or perhaps a Cream Crew episode? Or
No. And I'll tell you why I'm not going to do that is because today we're doing another creepy grab bag.
Woo! Yay! Yippee! I gotta say, I'm actually pretty excited because normally Hunter's so unsure about what we're going to read. He's always like, I don't know. Does this sound good? What do you think? And then he gets in the call today. He's like, we're doing these 3 videos in this order. Here's the links. Read it. Like, I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Came in with a little bit of confidence today. A
little bit.
Somebody actually, they suggested these 3 stories on a Reddit post. And it was the disappearance of Ashley, Kansas.
Oh, wait. One of our audience members suggested this?
Yes.
This is a horrible idea.
Yeah, well, it's been a while since we've done reader suggestions. Actually, we've been doing a lot of them just off of, I know it's impossible to not talk about one that people haven't probably recommended, but it's been a while since we've specifically looked at a post and then read what they suggested. So the 3 today are the disappearance of Ashley, Kansas, Eyeless Jack, and the Pancake family, which the last two sound a little funky, especially Eyeless Jack. All right. Which as I was saying before we were recording, I feel like Eyeless Jack, don't get me wrong, dare I say, I think it's going to be a story about probably a man who visits a child in their bed and just looks at him. And it's going to say something like, he had no eyes, but he stared at me. If I was a betting man.
I have no idea what you're talking about. That's so far off from what the story actually is. You're so stupid right now. You look like such an idiot.
But I want to start with the disappearance of Ashley, Kansas, because I just love these kinds of names. I really like how this first story is written is written and uploaded by Coaster Kid 93. Yeah, I like roller coasters. It's kind of my jam. It's also funny how enthralled I am by just like the verb of insert woman's name. that apparently is, I'm like, that's a damn good title. Wow. The Feeding of Jessica Bunny. Or something like that. You would
love that. If we came across a story with that title, you'd be like, we have to read this right now.
If I saw a story titled The Feeding of Jessica Bunny, would you not be a little bit curious?
Well, okay, for one, I would assume it was like a play on Jessica Rabbit, right?
I think that's where my mind wanted to go, but I had to pivot last second. I think that's
where your mind wanted to go because you were thinking about the word feeding, and then you were like, oh, I'd like to feed her, and then like just like your brain implanted an image. Yeah, I think that's what happened there. But the feeding of XYZ could be interesting. I get what you mean, though, about like the hyper-specific titles. It feels like, I don't know, it feels very direct.
Well, I think you're right too.
You're not gonna get any of this artsy stuff. It's gonna be loud, whatever happens.
It kind of has I think you're right where it feels like I get like a police report or some kind of thing. It just feels like it's going like almost like a true crime or paranormal kind of like ooh, there's like just a level of mystique to it. So I am looking forward to this. It is 12 years ago, so this is primo no sleep uploads time.
And once again, if this all sucks, it is the fault of, for one, the person who posted this to the subreddit, but more importantly, Hunter for trusting you.
That is true. So, I take blame.
And if it does good, then it's me for allowing him to do
I will accept that as well.
So.
I'm a chronically unhealthy person that's unhappy the majority of time in my life. I go to doctors all the time, but who can you really trust? That's why I use ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high quality in-network doctors. Choose the right one for your needs and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty. Do you have an unknown virus that no one's ever been able to find out ever? It doesn't matter. ZocDoc has a doctor for it. I promise. From mental health to dental health, eye care to skincare, and much more. And the nice thing about ZocDoc is that you can filter for doctors that take your insurance, are nearby, and are highly rated. It's super easy to use, and you can find an appointment time that works for you with the right doctor that fits your needs. Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. Sometimes you can even get same-day appointments. Whoa. You don't want to admit it, but you should probably see a doctor, you unhealthy fuck. So stop putting off those doctor appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/Creepcast to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/Creepcast. ZocDoc.com/Creepcast. Thank you, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this episode. Back to the story.
So, on that note, the disappearance of Ashley, Kansas. Sometime during the night of August the 16th, 1952, the small town of Ashley, Kansas ceased to exist. All right, I'm in. I
literally thought it was about just a woman named Ashley, Kansas.
I thought it was about a girl named Ashley who was from Kansas.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. A whole town disappearing. Keep going.
I'm immediately interested. Okay. At 3:28 a.m. on August the 17th, 1952, a magnitude 7.9 earthquake was measured by the United States Geological Survey. The earthquake itself was felt throughout the state and most of the Midwest. The epicenter was determined to be directly under Ashley, Kansas. When state law enforcement arrived at what should have been the outskirts of the farming community, they found a smoldering, burning fissure in the earth, measuring 1,000 yards in length and approximately 500 yards in width. The depth of the fissure was never determined. After 12 days, the statewide and local search for the missing 679 residents of Ashley, Kansas, was called off by the Kansas state government at 9:15 p.m. on the night of August 29, 1952. All 679 residents were assumed to be dead. At 2:27 a.m. on August 30th, 1952, a magnitude 7.5 earthquake was measured by the United States Geological Survey. The epicenter was situated under what used to be the location of Ashley, Kansas. When law enforcement investigated at 5:32 a.m., they reported that the fissure in the earth had closed.
Oh, that's fun.
In the 8 days leading up to the disappearance of the town and its 679 residents, bizarre and unexplainable events were reported by dozens of residents in Ashley, Kansas, and law enforcement from the surrounding area. By the way, that thing we talked about, how these titles are indicative of like a police presence, of like a very, like a cold true crime feel, right, almost. This reads exactly like a report.
Oh, okay, cool.
Some
okay.
agency or something. So I think that's kind of the vibe we're getting. On the evening of August the 8th, 1952, at 7:13 p.m., a resident by the name of Gabriel Jonathan reported a strange sight in the sky above Ashley. The town itself, having no official branch of law enforcement, called into the police station of the neighboring town of Hayes. Gabriel reported what appeared to be a, quote, small black opening in the sky, end quote. Within the next 15 minutes, the Hayes police station became overwhelmed with dozens of phone calls, all reporting the same phenomenon. The phenomenon was never reported by any neighboring communities. A decision was made to send a trooper to Ashley to investigate the matter the following morning.
Almost like a setup of a UFO or kind of like an alien, to me, is what it feels like a little bit, is the setup. I don't think that's what it is necessarily, but I feel like if somebody was reporting stuff in like that, you would almost think it's like almost Phoenix Lights kind of vibe or something, where multiple people saw this thing and then they darted away, except having it be a small black hole in the sky is...
The black opening in the sky is interesting. At 7:54 a.m. on the morning of August the 9th, 1952, Hayes police officer Alan Mace radioed the Hayes police station. He reported that, despite following the one-way road leading into Ashley, he had become lost. According to his report, the road, quote, continued along its normal path, but somehow ended up back in Hayes, end quote. Officer Mace went on to add that the road never curved or bent in any direction. 9:15 a.m., 7 of the town's 10 police cars were sent to investigate the situation, and all members of the team came to the same conclusion. The only road leading into Ashley stopped leading into Ashley, but instead led back to Hayes. Phone calls continue to pour into the Hayes police station, all reporting that the black opening in the sky continued to grow in size. All callers were advised to remain inside and to not travel outside unless absolutely necessary. At 8:17 p.m., Miss Elaine Cantor reported her neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Milton, and their 2 children, Jeffrey and Brooke, missing. According to Mrs. Cantor's phone call, the Miltons attempted to leave town in their family car earlier in the evening. They never returned. Law enforcement officials from Hayes never reported the car or individuals coming up the one-way road. Okay, this goes hard. So the police are trying to get into Ashley, but the road has become non-Euclidean, right? Like they're going straight and then they wind up back where they started over and over. And in the meantime, people who are inside of Ashley trying to leave don't come back. At 7:38 a.m. on the morning of August 10th, 1952, phone calls from Ashley into the Hayes police station reported that the town was in total darkness. The sun had never risen. At 10:15 a.m., at the request of Hayes law enforcement, a helicopter from Topeka, Kansas flew over the region in which Ashley, Kansas stood. The town was never observed from the air. At 12:43 p.m. on the afternoon of August 11th, 1952, Miss Phoebe Danielewski called into the Hayes police station. She reported that her daughter Erica had begun to have conversations with her father, who died 3 years prior in a drunk driving accident.
Oh, wow.
To add to her concern, Miss Danielewski reported that Erica was attempting to go outside into the dark to, quote, join them. Over the course of the next 12 hours, a reported 329 phone calls were placed into the Hayes police station, all describing similar phenomenon with the children of the town.
I mean, yeah, it almost seems like something otherworldly, almost like a portal to hell is opening or something. So, because do you, like, whenever you have these dead relatives reaching out to these people and manipulating them, do you actually believe that they're the actual people, or do you think that they're disguised?
Are you talking about within the story or like real life?
Yeah, in the story.
I thought you were like, in real life, do you think what do you think of like the afterlife?
Like Erica was attempting to go outside into the dark to join them, but it's like, is she being coerced by people pretending to be, or do you actually think that it's maybe like ghosts of people or spirits of people in that way?
I don't have enough info yet to know if this is like malicious or like kind of just.
Well, I guess just first impression.
I guess first impression is that the town is going through some kind of like spatial, thing where maybe I was right with the boiled one thing, that it's like an unholy rapture. Like on this specific community, there is the afterlife is creeping in and dragging them in. So then, under that impression, maybe it is actually lost loved ones.
That's kind of interesting.
I could be wrong. It could just be stuff trying to tempt them.
Well, I don't think that there's ever. I'm trying to think if I was a dead man, right? If I was a dead guy who died in a drunk driving accident, would I talk to my daughter Erica and be like, "Hey, I want you to come join me into the darkness. Hey, sweetheart, I want to come out here." I feel like I'd be like, "Hey, you should stay. This sucks. You should stay away from me," or whatever.
I mean, that's true. That's true. But we also don't know how corrupted you would be.
That's true.
Or like whatever, because it's obviously like a heavenly presence or whatever. So you've become some corrupted, lost soul. The reason I think maybe it's their actual souls is because if this is like an alien entity or something like that, we know where the story ends. We know that the whole town disappears. So why would they need to like lure kids out of their houses? Because the house and everything else is just going to be like warp drived in a minute anyway.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, the opening, like the fissure opening up of the earth does have kind of like a mouth of hell kind of, kind of visual vibe to it. But I think it's interesting too, the helicopter's flying above and it can't even see the town. It's like almost just totally enveloped in this like black crack in the sky.
Like a blot from the map.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The following morning of August 12th, 1952, the situation became dire. Oh, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Previously,
hey,
like
so
it became
the
dire.
People's spirits are coming in. And there's nothing but blackness outside. I think things are getting kind of serious out there.
Hey, you remember that call we had about that town over with, the looping geometry of the roads and the kids joining their lost souls in the afterlife, and also people just basically driving into the void if they leave town. Right. Well, that was all fine and dandy, but something happened last night, and now we're starting to show concern.
Yeah, well, let's give it a couple more days, and we'll just see what happens.
We'll see what goes on there. So, anyway.
Do you find the typos here also kind of charming? I feel like it's kind of charming.
Yeah, it's like it's on a typewriter because you can't go back and, backspace on the typewriter. I mean, you can X out, but then the mistake's still there.
Right.
The following morning of August 12th, 1952, the situation became dire. During the middle of the night, all 217 children in the town of Ashley, Kansas, disappeared. A reported 421 phone calls were placed into the Hayes Police Department. Unable to be of any useful assistance, Hayes law enforcement instructed all callers to remain inside and to avoid any and all attempts at finding the missing children. Man, well, that's decisively not good, I think. Could you imagine that 217 kids just like gone and you're already in like a weird like eclipse town or whatever?
It would definitely feel like
it's been night for 3 days.
I would almost just be like, well, they're coming for us next. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like all hope would, I feel like a lot of hope would be quickly draining from my veins. Like, I feel like it would be a lot of acceptance. I feel like after too long.
Yeah, the kids disappear, and you're like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. It'd be awesome for a couple days, but then you'd be like, it's just kind of a bit weird, huh? That they're all just gone.
At 5:19 p.m. on the evening of August 13th, 1952, Ashley elderly man Scott Luntz reported a growing, distant fire to the south. According to his description, the fire seemed to turn the distant black into, quote, bright red and orange seemed to extend high into the sky, end quote. Throughout the rest of the day, calls continued in, stating that the fire, in addition to moving north, now seemed to, quote, come out of the black sky. No fire was ever witnessed by any of the neighboring communities or law enforcement officials.
Is that trying to insinuate that only he could see it?
No, I think it's saying only people within the town could see it.
Okay. Neighboring communities. Yeah. Okay.
Officials. Yeah.
I mean, the more this goes on, the more I think you're right about it being some kind of hell opening up. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like maybe the children were spared for it. Like hell's descending on the town, like a Sodom and Gomorrah thing almost. But the lost loved ones are coming to take the children out of it before it happens.
It could be. I mean, Erica, I don't think we specifically got how old she was, but she could have been a child,
Yeah. The reports continued until 12:09 a.m. on the morning of August 14th, 1952. The last phone call, placed by Mr. Benjamin Endicott, reported that the fire in the sky had grown so intense that it began to appear as daytime over the town. The phone call ended abruptly. This is from the phone call placed by Benjamin Sherman Endicott.
Just hold on. Wait. Yeah, I see something. It's to the south. It looks like...
The next phone call wouldn't be placed until the following evening. The following is the entire transcript of the final phone call to be received by the Hayes Police Department out of the town of Ashley, Kansas. It was placed at 9:46 p.m. on the evening of August the 15th, 1952. In this recorded phone call, the officer on duty is Officer Peter Welsh. The caller has been identified as Miss April Foster. Hayes Police Department. Hello?
Yes, hello?
Ma'am, who am I speaking with?
My name is April Foster. Please, sir, please help me.
What's happening, ma'am?
Last night they came back.
Ma'am, I need you to...
Last night they came back!
Ma'am, I'm going to need you to calm down and speak clearly. What happened? Who came back?
Everyone.
Everyone?
They all came in the fire.
What do you mean, everyone?
My son. I saw my son last night. He was walking down the street. He was burned. Jesus Christ, he was burned.
Ma'am,
he died last year. I raised him since he was a baby. It was just me and him. I told him to watch for cars. He rode his bike, but he never wanted to listen.
Ma'am, what you're saying isn't making any sense. You said everyone came
back? Are you fucking listening to me? Everyone came back. Everyone who died or went missing, they're back, and they're looking for us. He said, Mommy, I'm okay now, see? I can walk again. Where are you, Mommy? I want to see you.
Ma'am, where are you now? Are you safe?
I'm hiding. Just like everyone else. We saw them coming from the fields. Some people opened their doors for them. God, screaming. I don't know what happened to them. But the houses caught fire and they caved in. I have my curtains drawn. I'm hiding in the closet right now and...
Ma'am, is everything alright? Are you okay? Ma'am.
Oh my God!
Ma'am.
Something just came in! No!
Ma'am, stay as quiet as you can. Don't make a sound.
Mommy! He came inside!
Dude, there was no way for me to do that.
Oh, you were doing so good. You were killing it.
I tried.
Oh, that was great.
Oh, fuck, there's more.
That's screaming about his legs worked or whatever. You were nailing it. Stay absolutely still. Don't leave.
Mommy, where are you hiding?
Ma'am, this isn't funny. It's not funny, but I need you to stay quiet.
I found you, Mommy!
Ma'am. What are they doing to you in there?
What the hell's your boy doing? Hello?
The following morning at 6:55 a.m., the law enforcement officials of the Hayes Police Department arrived at the location of Ashley, Kansas. A smoldering, burning fissure in the earth was all that remained. We're going to take a quick break from the show to thank today's sponsor, Manscaped.com, because Manscaped has a new special treat for all of our bald kings in the audience. That, of course, is the Dome Shaver Pro and the Dome Smoother Aftershave. The Dome Shaver Pro comes with 5 premium rotary blades optimized for head shaving. Designed to give you the cleanest, smooth shave possible, the Shaver Pro features skin-safe technology, meaning that there will be no ifs and or buts about nicks and cuts when you shave. You like that? Like that little limerick? The Dome Shaver is also fully waterproof, meaning you can use it in the shower or at the sink without worry. And on top of that, the Dome Shaver has 90 minutes of battery life and is also rechargeable, meaning you can get a lot of shaves out of it and then you simply plug it up and forget about it when you need a recharge. Then after that fantastic shave, you can use the Dome Soother, a dermatologist-tested aftershave that's infused with aloe, Gotu Kola, and oats. The Soother is also alcohol and cruelty-free. So, you're already bald. There's no reason to feel worse about yourself. Not that I feel like I'm better than bald people by any means, because now you have something to show for it. So if you want in on this fantastic head grooming game, then head over to manscaped.com to get your Dome Shaver Pro and Dome Soother today. Use promo code Creepcast to get 20% off your order and free shipping. That is right, 20% off your order and free international shipping. All you have to do is use promo code Creepcast at the link in the description at manscaped.com. What's not to love? Thank you all so much for watching the ad. Thank you so much to Manscaped for sponsoring the video. It really does mean the most. Hope you all check them out. Link in the description. And we are now back to the show.
For a story about just like basically hell opening up and the dead walking the earth again, it also kind of seems like, yes, they are. I think you predicted that right. I think it is the people, but they're just corrupted.
Yeah. It's like hell. It's like, the souls, the worst parts of them are, condemned to hellfire or whatever. And then they've been burnt and stuff like that. So there's one belief I've heard, like, not really Christianity. This is more like sort of a esoteric, extra spiritual belief that I think's cool, is that when you die, it's not that you either go to heaven or hell. It's that the good parts of you, the holy parts, go to heaven, and the wicked, base parts of you go to hell. So you're effectively separated in half.
That's fascinating.
And then salvation, quote unquote, is which part your consciousness, your thoughts go with.
Sure.
Which one is more one way or the other.
Yeah.
So it's like everyone that's sent to hell, like, sure, it's that person, but it is the evil, it's the bitterness, the part you want to wash out of them. It's almost like this child that's returned is like this part, the evil that's been burning for a year, like, come to find her.
Yeah, or even just kind of Pet Sematary-esque, like you just come back wrong. You come back evil.
The ground sour. Yeah.
So almost like even if you were a child, that like festering hatred that's probably in every human being has just like boiled and marinated over time. I do think too, as the story goes, I like that it's all from the afterthought, and you get that like one little preamble at the end that gives you just a little peek in, but it doesn't reveal its hand too much. Because I feel like the more you reveal of that, the more that I think hell can become very like not scary in a story sense. Yeah. But I think that the idea of the mystery of hell and the things that hell can obviously be horrifying. So I think that it rode that fine line. And it's, the length of it felt fun too. Like it felt like just a nice little, like a nice passing car.
I agree. It lost me a little bit at the ending.
With the transcript, like the call.
Yeah. Well, not the like a transcript's fine, but more specifically, like the mommy, where are you at? Mom? Like it's like okay, I get it.
Stuff,
Yeah.
Because you can do. You
like,
can have.
Not only I think not only were you funny, but also it's like I get it. I know that it's like a demon son from hell. I don't need it to be like, mommy, where are you?
Mommy, I see you. It's like
exactly.
That was creepy in
like
Pet Sematary.
Standard.
Like then in the 80s when ever since then,
right,
I feel like every movie gets one mommy from me before I roll my eyes, because I've never met anyone in my fucking life, even as a child, that's ever said mommy or daddy. Don't like that already. So to me, I'm like, you have like one like, oh mommy, like you're coercing somebody in, because it would have been interesting.
Wait. You're not walking over that one.
What
do you mean you've never heard a child call their mom mommy?
I have never once heard a child say mommy or daddy. Never once.
Okay, have you been around a child? Have you seen?
I wouldn't say a lot. I tried to. My cousins have children, and I tried to. I'm not a big kid person. Like I don't like. I don't know. People are like, oh, they got a new baby. We got to go. So I'm not. That's not me. Whatever. They're like, oh, it's his 3rd birthday. Like none of that. Don't care for any of that. To me, I don't even. If I had a child.
Maybe you're just a bad person.
That could be. That very well could be the case. All I know is this. You could, more so what I'm trying to get at too, is that you can say the mommy line once to deceptively try to like lure the person out. But then I think it might have been fun to just see that change immediately. So instead of like continuously hitting that kind of child trope of like, mommy, whatever, I see you, and try to be creepy that way. To me, it would have almost been creepier if they would have dropped the child act and I guess took another tone with it.
Yeah, I think it works, but I think it could have worked better. Again, I think overall it's a good story. I called it from the beginning with like, it's like a hell thing. I think the Sodom and Gomorrah comparison is accurate. Like for whatever reason, this one specific town is facing Judgment Day sooner than everyone else, right? So it's like the children are taken away, hellfire's brought down. I think maybe the story would be a bit more interesting if it leaned into that, like what the sins of the town might have been.
Yeah.
I like the idea that the nearby police try to get in and they can't. I like that the ground was like this giant burnt out hole. Like the entire thing was purified from the earth.
Salted.
And then the ground just built over it. Yeah, almost like it's like hell itself is like cleansing the earth of its like fissure and then moves on.
To have a Judgment Day just be to a certain community is fun, because I like the idea of you could just be like, oof, what if that happens to us next? Or like it. I always enjoy when stories have that, when you kind of you leave the viewer kind of like looking over their shoulder a bit of like, am I going to be next? Am I the next victim? Like that's in my opinion, that's always a very strong story. That was fun though. The Disappearance of Ashley Kansas.
It was fun.
Cool.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Anything to make you do the mommy voice. That was hilarious.
Well, guess what? Here's the next mommy. The next story is called Eyeless Jack.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I'm looking, and I'm on creepypasta.com right now looking. And what's the first thing I saw above the story is 2 little paragraphs I wanted to read here. Like many creepypasta characters, there was an ekphrastic element. What the fuck does ekphrastic mean?
I've actually never heard that word in my life.
That's a made-up word. Like many creepypasta characters, there was a made-up word element to Eyeless Jack's creation, meaning that the actual story of Eyeless Jack came after or was inspired by the image. That story was eventually posted to Creepypasta by a user named Azelf5000 on February 25th, 2012. Once again, those 2012s. And was presented as a first-person account of an encounter with Eyeless Jack. Interestingly, the original creepypasta was removed by its creator in the wake of the original Jeff the Killer story being removed. with its author expressing a desire to remove it himself before the admins of the site could. So I think that's so anytime we can get Jeff the Killer thrown in here, which I still think, dare I say, is I don't know if I can say it's the worst one still. I'm still wondering.
No, because Squidward's unaliving or
Squidward's is really bad. I almost don't.
That was fun. That was fun bad.
You think so?
Jeff the Killer was just
I think
bad.
Jeff the Killer
was. Squidward's was great. Do you remember how hard you laughed when he died?
I mean, don't get me wrong, but I was laughing pretty hard with Jeff the Killer too, with the bullies and stuff. I thought all that. I mean,
that's
it had a bunch of fun. It had a bunch of fun moments.
That was our second episode. Look at us
versus,
now.
I don't know, the thing in the basement. That was just unbearable. That was just torturous. Like you laughing was just
that had good moments too. What are you, some kind of monster? No, Monster Hunter, huh? Like that's undefeated.
Only
that's
come
one of the
here when there's spooky
things.
shit. And trust me, this is some seriously spooky shit. Whatever.
You would put that thing behind 10 locks and keys. Like just it's such bizarre wording on stuff.
But yes, this is by Azel 5000, aka Thunder/Joey. I don't know what the hell that means, but this is a very, very short story. So I say, let's just burn through it. Let's burn through it, and hope the cringe consumes us.
I will mention that I have seen this character drawn in. So
you don't need to say that.
Hello, my name is Mitch. I'm here to tell you guys about an experience I had. I don't know if it was paranormal or whatever stupid words people use to describe.
I don't know if it's paranormal or whatever stupid fucking words people use for supernatural phenomena like ghosts.
I already love it.
I'm ready, dude.
I haven't looked at this story since I was.
This is once again. This has got to be some primo, very edgy, like 13-year-old energy.
Yeah. Well, when I was 12, I'm like, this is so good.
Yeah, this is.
I never liked
badass.
I never liked Eyeless Jack that much, but I remember it. I remember it being like favored in the same way other stuff was. Like Jeff the Killer, the image was out there, so people made a story around it. Same with this. Don't know if it was paranormal or whatever stupid words people use to describe supernatural phenomena. But after that thing visited me, I believe in that paranormal trash. Now.
I believe in that paranormal trash. That fucking gunk beneath my boot.
That stupid idiot stuff. Yeah, it tried to kill me. It tried to eat me alive, actually. Believe that.
Now. I just like the pod.
Now.
The comma.
Yeah,
it's
the
like
comma is great. A week after I moved in with my brother Edwin, after my house was foreclosed, I finished unpacking. Wait, what's the structure of that sentence? A week after I moved in with my brother Edwin, after my house was foreclosed,
what?
I finished unpacking. That feels like one of those sentences you would get when you were in the 4th grade. Like, correct the sentence. Which part should this
also,
place be moved
how
to?
old is this person supposed to be that his house was foreclosed?
I don't know. But okay. This is again how a 12-year-old
sure
about
they're like, yeah,
stuff.
just assume that's my dad's house because obviously I don't have a house because I'm a kid, you know.
But I've heard the word foreclosed in relation to houses.
Yeah, I heard Foreclosure and Happy Gilmore, which is my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, we're reading about. It makes it sound like we're reading about a 54-year-old man who's on his 3rd marriage and 8th job.
So a week, anyways, this paranormal stuff started happening. So a week after I moved in with my brother Edwin, who's 63.
Yeah, the way you would write that sentence is, a week after my house was foreclosed, I moved in with my brother Edwin. It doesn't need to be, whatever. Right. Edwin liked the idea of me moving in, since we had not seen each other for 10 years. So I was excited, too. the grammar is killing me.
So I was excited, too.
Wait, they haven't seen each other in 10 years?
This actually seriously might be a 54-year-old and a 63-year-old.
It might be. Yeah, how old are these people? My gosh. I soon fell asleep after I moved in. The way these are phrased is so funny. I moved in, I fall asleep.
I soon fell asleep after I moved in.
It's like, yeah, you mean you went to bed there?
Yeah,
eventually?
so what? You just went to you fell asleep in a house? What the fuck? Like, why?
This is written by an alien. After that first week, I heard rustling noises coming from outside at about 1 a.m. I thought it was a raccoon, so I ignored it and tried to fall asleep. The next morning, I told Edwin about it, and he agreed. These commas.
Hey, Edwin. Yeah, I think I heard a raccoon. You probably did. Okay. That's
yeah.
Okay.
It's like,
all right.
Hey, Edwin. Yeah, there was a noise outside. Okay, I think it was a raccoon. Uh-huh. Do you agree? Yeah. The next night, however, I thought I heard my window opening and a loud thump, as if something entered my room. I darted up and looked around my room, but I saw nothing. The next morning, Edwin dropped his coffee cup when he saw me. He held up a nearby mirror and I saw myself. I had a large gash in my left cheek.
Edwin takes off a comically large gothic mirror off his wall and holds it up to his brother.
It's like bigger than he is. It's like waddling over.
Look at yourself. You have a large gash in your left cheek.
These interactions are so alien. I imagine it's like, oh, hello, brother, I haven't seen in 10 years. And then the next morning he's like, raccoon? Yeah. And then they don't talk the rest of the day.
How do we know this isn't the author of this didn't have the first version of AI or like a chat GPT? Because this feels like a story written by AI, like the way that it's like trying to be human.
GPT would not add this many commas.
That is true. It would know that that's wrong. All right, that's true. That's true.
So to keep in mind, our protagonist is in the bed, and then he hears a thump, and then he's like, oh, nothing's here. And then unknowingly to him, something cut his face open.
Yeah, bad enough to where his brother Edwin had to grab a literal mirror off the wall and put it up to him.
Dropping his coffee, like shattering it on the ground. After I was rushed to the hospital, my doctor told me that I must have been sleepwalking, but then he showed me something that made my blood turn cold. He lifted up my shirt to reveal a sewn-up incision where my kidneys were.
Eyeless Jack took his kidneys! Holy shit!
He took his kidneys!
He took his fucking kidneys! Oh my god, that's awesome. Oh god. Also, I like how Eyeless Jack fucking like took the guy's kidneys, but he's like, here's something for you to remember me with. And like cut his cheek for what reason? You already took the guy's kidneys.
He took his kidneys and then cut him on the cheek so that he would have a plot element to be scared of before he then goes to the doctor.
How did Mitch not wake up during any of this? You have a guy cutting this son of a bitch open, and Mitch is really like,
but he heard a drop in his door.
It was like on the window, and he was like, "Oh my god, what?" And he's like, "That's nothing. It's probably just one of those raccoons, right, Edwin? Right." And he's in the room next door. Right, probably raccoon. Okay.
But then it's good, dude. I forgot. I thought I hadn't heard this story in so long. From what I remembered, Eyeless Jack just kills you or something, right? I forgot about the kidney part. That's great. Oh my god.
Oh my god. I read the next line.
I stared into his eyes, mine widening.
You somehow lost your left kidney last night.
The doctor told me.
We don't know how though. Sorry, Mitch.
Oh my god.
That makes the doctor, to be fair, that makes the doctor so suspicious. We don't know how though. I'm sorry, Mitch. I don't know what happened.
Oh, you're missing your kidney? Oh, that's weird.
Mitch,
anyway,
I don't know what to tell you. That's so funny.
You're gonna want to see
You're
this.
gonna want to probably get that figured out.
That's the health. Do you remember in Jeff the Killer? Jeff's little brother is like, I stabbed that kid. The cop's like, well, that's a year in juvie. It just takes him straight to jail.
Yeah, I'm the judge and the executioner. You're going to juvie for 1 year.
This is the healthcare equivalent of that. You just lost. Oh, you lost your kidney last night? Well, that sucks. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Oh boy. The next night was my breaking point. Not losing the kidney.
Yeah, no,
that was
you
fine.
could take my left kidney. That's fine. But now you've really started to peeve me off.
You've gone too far. Around midnight, I woke up to see a truly horrifying sight. You know, a kid saw this picture.
Oh yeah.
And was like, "This is so cool," and he wrote this.
Horrifying.
He wrote this in 7 minutes.
Yeah,
like the whole thing, right?
There's definitely a kid too who doesn't understand the severity of like how he probably heard, because that's kind of a meme, right? Oh yeah, they took my kidneys or whatever. People, like that was
or like the whole thing that like, oh, you get roofied at a bar, wake up with
you're in a bathtub full of ice and your kidneys are gone or whatever.
Yeah.
So he probably saw that in a movie because I'm pretty sure that's in the movie I Know What You Did Last Summer. I'm almost positive
it is. I think it is. Yeah.
So he probably saw that and he's like, yeah, I'm having your kidneys, so it's fine when you live. So it's like that's step one in this horrifying process.
Yeah, a kid saw that, not really realizing like the gravity or what that would imply in the real world and stuff. Is like, oh, it can take an organ and you can still be alive. That's cool. That's going in the story. Yeah. I woke up to see a truly horrifying sight. I was staring face to face with a creature.
Here we go.
They always use the word creature. It's always the word creature. Never monster, thing, being, presence. It's always the creature. They always say, do you know the word creature was banned for a while from r/2sentence horror stories?
Really?
Because everyone was using the word creature in every story that became a meme. They'd write 2-sentence stories that are like, I felt a weird presence in my house. It was then that I saw the creature.
It was then that I saw the creature. I want that on a shirt so bad. There's a weird presence. It was then I saw the creature.
It became a joke to go on 2-sentence horror and just like make something dumb with the word creature in it. Like, I almost felt like Christmas, except I've got no eggnog. Thankfully, I can just milk some more from the creature. The family enjoys their milk at the table. Little do they know it was harvested from my creature.
I like how the majority of them are literally just milking some kind of creature.
Hey, chef, I called into the kitchen. My meal began being produced by a creature.
Hey, chef. Yes, chef.
Okay. Yeah, you get the idea. People just
let's keep we're almost done with this.
We'll get you through. Well,
I want to get done with this fucking Eyeless Jack bullshit.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm having a great time. I was staring face to face with a creature with a black hoodie and dark blue mask with no nose or mouth staring down at me. The thing that scared me the most was that it had no eyes.
That would be the most horrifying part of a person breaking into your room, is them having no eyes.
Yeah, that would be pretty
wearing a mask that you can't see their eyes, that's the scariest part about all this.
Just empty black sockets. The creature also had some black substance dripping from its sockets. I grabbed a camera from the nearby mantle and took a picture. Immediately after taking the shot, the creature lunged at me and tried to claw open my chest to get to my lungs.
Of course. Natural conclusion.
It wants its organs. I stopped it by kicking it in the face.
Nice.
As I ran out of my room, I grabbed my wallet. I would need the money. What do you mean you need the money?
Yeah.
I ran out of my brother's house into the night. I eventually ended up in the woods near Edwin's house and tripped on a rock.
I just like how he left his brother in there with the guy.
Yeah. What a loser.
Like, well, I guess I'm going to need this bus ticket.
I'm glad he grabbed the wallet. That's something, I guess. I fell unconscious and woke up in the hospital. My doctor, the same one who treated me before, entered the room.
I have good news and bad news, Mitch. The good news is that you had minor injuries and your parents are going to pick you up. The bad news is that your brother has been killed by some thing. Sorry.
Yes. I've got good news. You're all right. Bad news. Your brother's dead.
It's the fucking has been killed by something, so they know what it is, and then he just ends it with sorry about that.
The idea of the doctor, just like he's about to go tell a man his brother's dead, and he kicks open the door like, well, it's one of them good news, bad news scenarios. Also, what do you mean you're getting picked up by your parents? I thought this guy was like 40.
We have no idea
10 years.
How old this man is.
He has a foreclosed house. Had to see his brother 10 years, but his parents are picking him up.
We have no idea. We have no idea.
Yeah, we have weird setup stuff that doesn't mean anything, like his house got foreclosed on.
Why do you even have to have the foreclosed thing? Why can't you just be like, yeah, I went to go live with my brother? Why to say that his house got foreclosed, which it's like, let's finish this last paragraph.
My parents took me back to Edwin's house to collect my remaining belongings, which I did. Upon entering my room, I was scared, but remained calm. I grabbed my camera and then stopped dead in my tracks. In the hallway leading to my room, I saw Edwin's body.
What?
Something small lying next to it. What?
Wait, they just left his dead body in the house? The cops just left
the cops left his body, and they can't, for some reason, we don't even know why the police showed up to the house, because he was unconscious outside and Edwin's presumably dead in the house. So the cops show up, they're like, hey, this guy dead, that's weird. So they something did it. So they put his brother in the hospital and leave the body.
I'm guessing it's supposed to be a crime scene, but we have not established that at all. Is what I'm guessing.
No, he's acting like it's an empty house.
That's what it reads as, for sure. But I feel like he's probably saying that it's, I don't know.
Again, this was written by a child. I saw Edwin's body and something small lying next to it. I retrieved it up and entered my parents' car, not mentioning Edwin's corpse.
Not mentioning Edwin's corpse. So they're just like, hey, can you go into Edwin's house even though he's dead? So are we under the impression that they don't know that Edwin's dead body's lying there?
I guess not.
Okay.
No one knows, I suppose. I looked at the thing I had picked up and nearly vomited. I was holding my stolen half-eaten kidney. Yes! Yes! With some black substance on it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, my gosh. That's so good.
That killed me.
Oh, my gosh. He saw his brother's dead body, and he says, there was a thing there. So I just pick it up. I don't look at what the thing is. I get in the car, and I look down at it, and it's my kidney, half-eaten.
This story hurt me.
That was great. That was so good, dude.
If there was a dead body,
his brother's body's left there. For some reason, the doctor knows that it's there, but no one else does.
No one else knows.
And then he goes and he's like, "Oh, there's a thing there," and he thinks it's like, he phrases it like it's a coin or a note.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "It was neither of those things at all. Instead, it was an organ, my organ."
So here's a couple questions I have. One. If there was a dead body and there was an organ, would you just assume that how would you know that it's your kidney? Okay. Well, just number one there, right?
Right.
Number two is so in the hospital, does the doctor not tell the family that the other son is dead? And then also, do they just let is the family so nonchalant?
How did the doctor know that the other son
I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is the family is like either delusional because they're just like, all right, we'll be waiting here in the car. We'll see you. Just grab your stuff and we'll head on out.
For this unidentified 15 to 87-year-old man.
Wow. That was terrible. That might have actually been my least favorite story we've ever read.
That was, dude. No, how? It's so funny.
Yes,
it's so bad it's good. This is like the Room of stories. It's not like that. We've read stories that are just boring. You remember the second half of what was the Ben drowned thing?
God.
That whole log.
No, that's true. That's true.
That's boring. This is memorable. I had a great time reading this. Yeah.
Thank God too. You know what? I'll give it credit. It was short. It was very, very short.
It was very short, dude. That's so funny. I looked down and it was I remember being 12 and listening to this story and was like, I never liked it that much, but I didn't remember it being so bad. Oh, that's funny. It went for my lungs. It clearly reached for my lungs, and then it killed my brother, and then it told the doctor and nobody else, and then it had my half-eaten kidney. I think my brother was trying to eat my kidney.
It was lunging at me. It wanted my lungs. It was going to steal my lungs.
I think realistically, this thing was going to eat my kidney.
If I'm being honest,
I think I come to the same conclusion. I think I come to the conclusion that it was trying to eat my kidney.
It led me to believe that it was going to go for my kidneys and then eventually go for my lungs and sell it on the black market before dining on it before he sells it.
This story has 8.7 out of 10 stars on Creepypasta.
I think I refuse to. Those are fixed. Those are Chinese bots that are flooding and giving it.
I am being honest. I have seen so much porn of this.
We
character.
don't talk. Enough. We don't need to talk about that.
Because I do. I need to. Someone's got to be my psychiatrist. Back when I was like really into creepypasta community, I would read all like the fan stories and fan spinoffs and stuff, and a bunch of them were like weirdly sexual, like, you know, like snuff, like very book talk-esque, right? And then I would be like, people would do cool fan art of them. I'd be like, oh, okay, so let me just go search creepypasta fan art, and then just so much like Rule 34 of Jeff the Killer, Slender Man, Eyeless Jack, a lot of young people who had a lot of complicated emotions and too good capabilities of drawing, and it just manifested in a bad way. So,
and there it is. I say we move over to r/no sleep again, and we put a nice pin in it today with reading. Okay, first off, it says not safe for work. So don't know what this entails.
Our audience suggesting a not safe for work story? They would never do that.
I've putting that out there.
Hunter.
We did.
It's not like that's what I thought was going to happen from the start of this whole thing.
18 plus. It is, and this one's called the Pancake Family. The title, honestly, it gets you pretty good. It feels innocent, but there's a level of maliciousness to it.
Real quick, I need to read a couple more of these 2-sentence horror stories that I saw while I was searching it. I need to just put this out there.
I hate you.
They said the library was safe and nothing was here. I think about how that was a lie as I sit here, bleeding out from my missing arm.
Can you imagine a full 2-hour podcast with 2-sentence horrors?
Just me and you doing this for 2 hours.
God, that would be hell.
No more,
Isaiah! No more!
As I fell on my bed.
Please. Can we just read the Pancake Family?
I decided to go on a tour of the IKEA factory. Little did I know that I would find the creature that lays the IKEA meatballs.
Jesus Christ. All right, not safe for work. The Pancake Family. We're gonna get to it.
Give me one more.
Do that. You read it to them. I'm gonna go grab a Baja Blast.
No,
I'm getting a Baja Blast.
Like, Hunter is so privileged. This guy,
he hears Eyeless Jack and he's like, wow, I can't believe that physically hurt me. It's the worst thing I've ever heard.
He wasn't in the trenches where I was. Okay, he didn't grow up with like the worst excuse for
Did he drive to Taco Bell to get a Baja Blast? Is that what he meant?
I'm coming back. And if there's still 2-sentence horror being read, I quit.
Come on in. Have a seat, said the dentist who invented the electric chair.
I hate you. Who invented the electric chair? All right. r/no sleep. And this is uploaded 8 years ago by A.A. Peterson. I don't know what A.A. Peterson, what A.A. stands for, but I'm going to assume it means amazing author.
Sure, babe. Whatever you think. Whatever you think's best.
I guess it's just between people. Someone's being interviewed. So this is kind of has another kind of transcripty feel to it, which should be fun.
All right. And again, if this is too mature or weird and stuff, this is Hunter's fault.
I take full responsibility.
That pill, huh? Man, I bet I look like a ghost. I feel like I've bled out 2 gallons. What? No, not a scratch. Sorry to ramble. It's just that I'm, what's the word for it? Detached. Strange feeling. Seen it enough times in the field. Sort of figured if I was ever going to experience myself, then I would have experienced it by now. A hell of a thing. I feel like I'm floating outside of my body. Just cut the cord and I'd float away. Did you see the crime scene? Don't look at the pictures. Don't even touch the file. You'll thank me. I can't get my knees to stop rattling. Is that why you're holding on to your coffee like that? I'm shaking the table, aren't I? Hold on a second. Let me back up my chair. There. That's better.
We've got to go official now, Hob. Can you confirm for the record that you've been waiving your right to an attorney?
No, I'm still not interested in an attorney. I mean, yes, I'm waiving my rights. Sorry. And I'm as sound of mind as I'll ever be.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Let the record show that Detective Hobson Millgate, retired, has waived his rights to an attorney.
I won't need a lawyer after the DA stops puking and considers taking it public. They're not showing that to a jury.
Are you ready to begin?
No, but I'll talk anyway.
What led you to the crime scene on that night in question?
Would you believe I was planning a fishing trip before this started? Never mind. Hold on, I'm thinking. Sorry, just hard to organize it. Never been on this side of the interrogation table before. I guess it started with the reporter, name of Bomber. She contacted me a week ago by email and claimed that she had new information on the Driscoll murders. I was the lead investigator, so, the case had gone unsolved for 20 years. Cold as ice. Frankly, I thought it was all bullshit at first. You know how that can be. Most of the time, it's not even on purpose. It's just that everyone thinks they know something that will crack a case wide open. Theories are easy when you don't have to check them against any evidence. The Driscoll murders were a big story around these parts, and there was, lots of interest, lots of press. Over the years, I must have gotten a couple hundred shit theories, but none of them panned out. When I retired, I handed the investigation over to Detective Carroll, but I didn't want him to be bothered. I know he's a busy guy, with the recent gang activity and whatnot, so I figured I'd check it out as a courtesy. I wasn't expecting it to go anywhere. I met her for lunch at Per Year's Cafe. It's a good-looking blonde gal, professional, so she didn't fit the typical profile of a hoaxer or some conspiracy theorist. Not that I put too much faith in profiles, but, she also might have been one of those creepy gals that gets off on death. God knows I've dealt with those too. I still thought she might be pulling my leg, or maybe she had been fooled too, but she had a file with her, and it looked legit. It contained what appeared to be a confession by the Driscoll. Well, he wasn't a murderer, was he? I do really wish he had been, though. It would have been so much better for everyone if it was that
Can you
simple.
please fill us in on relevant details of the Driscoll case?
Let's see. It would have been 20 years ago now. Thinking of all those years, 20 damn years. That's a long time to be.
Take your time, Hob.
Yeah, thanks. The Driscolls were a family of 6 out in the suburbs. Upper middle class. Father was an attorney. Mother ran her own business, selling pottery out of the house. Let's see. 4 children. All high school age or below. They were good kids. Honor roll. No criminal records of any kind to speak of. The oldest son was caught smoking dope at his high school once, but nothing much besides that. Just the typical stuff you find when you look at people too closely. They disappeared, I think it was October 13th, 1994. No trace of the bodies. The mystery, and seeing as how it was right around Halloween, is probably why the press went so crazy. You still see it show up on some of those unsolved mystery shows. Whole family disappeared and no one saw a thing. No one knew where they went. A neighbor logged a sound complaint, which is how we got involved in the first place. There's an alarm going off, and they figured it might be an intruder or something. We dispatched a vehicle. When no one answered the door, the patrolman went in to investigate. So yeah, there were obvious signs of a struggle in the youngest daughter's bedroom. The bed had been flipped over, and the sheets were torn off. The alarm was a carbon monoxide detector. We found elevated concentrations of carbon monoxide in the fabric of all the bedspreads, except the youngest daughter's. We wouldn't have known to look without the alarm. So yeah, anyway, the neighbor indicated the alarm had been sounding for over a day, and he'd been unable to get anyone to answer the door during that time. We also found several aluminum canisters and some hoses in a dumpster a few blocks away. At the time, we assumed the Driscolls had been gassed and disposed of at a different location, excepting, of course, the daughter, who woke up at the inn and put up a struggle. So, as you know, the investigation gave no leads. So real quick pause. This is saying that all of this, like the disappearance, began with the neighbor calling about an alarm going off, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So they disappear there when the alarm goes off. There's like a carbon monoxide thing in all the rooms except for the youngest daughters. And then that there was never a trace found after that. And that's when it became a big, true, like a unsolved mystery type thing.
Yeah. Yep. Also, the shakiness of this officer, even in the way that they wrote the text so far, do you find him to be? Do you think he's shaken up, or do you feel like it's like an unreliable narrator?
I think he's reliable. I think whatever we're going to get to, whatever has been discovered recently, has like haunted him.
Sure.
I think that's where it's going. I think like, because he keeps being like, well, at the time it wasn't, or like, well, back then we didn't know anything. And he's made that one line that's like, I really wish he just murdered them. Right.
The shakiness, yeah. And the shakiness of his voice of an experienced detective being that, I don't know, shaken and like unprofessional in a situation like this feels like he definitely
he's
saw
talking
horrible.
About 20 years ago when we worked the case. So, you know, he's been working murder cases for 20 years. You think this guy would see everything. And now he's like, man, I wish he was just a murderer. That would make this a lot easier. Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Back into character. Of course, our first thought was that the father did it. We checked it out, but he didn't have any kind of motive. No leads to follow up on. Same with mom. Surviving family checked out clean too. Father had a few clients who might have had motive, but the means weren't there. He was a divorce lawyer, but not for anybody who could have taken out an entire family without leaving evidence. There was a chemistry teacher who lived 3 blocks away, and we investigated him for a while because of the canisters, but he alibied out, so clean there. Same with the dentist who lived nearby. The wife had an online flirtation with some kid out in England, but nothing adulterous, and he wasn't even in the country at the time of the murder, so that's out. We settled unhappily on the idea of a random killing. Hardest pieces of shit to catch when there's no pattern like that. You know, it's just one and done. We must have sunk tens of thousands of man hours into this case, chasing down leads. But yeah, nothing ever came of any of it. We did track down the canisters. They were stolen from a laboratory about 10 miles away. There was no security footage. We couldn't find any leads on the thief. And after 6 months with no repeat attacks, the investigation went cold. So the Driscolls had been knocked out and abducted. Like I said, no one ever found the bodies. Who was to say they hadn't just, run off? Until, I'd rather only talk about that once.
What can you tell us about how the confession wound up with Miss Bomber?
Well, she'd been following the case for some years, both personally and as a reporter. Like I said, it captured the imagination of a whole lot of people. Even seemingly normal folks thought it could have been aliens, ghosts, demons, or, whatever. Miss Bomber published a retrospective on the murders, given the 20-year anniversary. It caused a sort of renewed interest, which happened from time to time. As usual, I declined to comment, citing, lack of new evidence. What did I have to say? I remembered her asking for my quote, though, which is why I accepted the lunch meeting. After publication of the article, Miss Bomber claimed that she had been sent a file. She wished to have me authenticate. The most pertinent part of the file was a confession. I assured Miss Bomber that such false documents are not uncommon, especially in older cases like this, and that I'd personally heard 24 confessions of the Driscoll murders. It kind of just becomes standard fare at some point. But she was insistent. once I felt she wasn't trying to pull off a hoax or, she wasn't getting off on the idea of talking about a murder, I agreed to the meeting. So she stated that the confession had been mailed to her in the same envelope she showed to me when we met for lunch.
Can you describe its content?
Yeah, old newspaper clippings outlining the progress of my investigation. They seemed appropriately yellowed, so I guess they were, from the trophy book of the perpetrator. There were also 6 photos alleging to be of the individual members of the Driscoll family, as well as several other photos of the facility where they had been taken. Look at that. My hands won't stop shaking. See? I'm trying as hard as I can, and I can't make it happen. I'll have to ask the paramedic for a sedative, I guess, when I'm done with the statement. I don't think I'm gonna sleep otherwise. No, I'm fine. I'm fine for now. I don't want anything to interfere with my recollection. Don't want to mess with the recording and all. I'm fine, but just carrying it around in my head is like sorry, I'll stay focused. So the photos were of the Driscoll family, of course. At the time, I didn't know that. The photos had aged poorly, and they could have been of anyone. It was hard to distinguish features. However, given the elaborate nature of the file, I figured it did warrant further look. As to the confession letter, well, it was brief. It gave an address. That's the first thing I noticed. I couldn't locate the address online, which meant it had to be old. The confession letter said, "Stop printing lies. Never killed anyone. Just took a while to get them ready for breakfast." And there was no signature. I just remembered something. Damn it. Yeah, that's right. We got sent a breakfast menu a month after after the disappearance. Someone had drawn a red circle around a picture of pancakes. Yeah, yeah. The letter said, "They're not dead. They're getting ready for breakfast." We put it in the junk lead file. Damn it. Yeah. Getting ready for breakfast.
Detective Milgate, do you need a moment?
I mean, how could I have known, we tried to track down that menu, we could never find out where it had come from. So it wasn't any place local, and any of the identifying information we could use to track down where the menu came from had been cut out. So, I don't know. If we did have it, I don't know what else could have been done. I just, God, yeah.
Why did you decide to personally investigate the location mentioned in the letter?
Sorry. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't a hoax. I still wasn't convinced. I had 20 years of people sending me fake evidence. I guess maybe the case kind of captured my imagination too, I always figured one day I'd think of something that I'd overlooked and I'd solve the whole thing. But it felt unbelievable to have someone dump the answer in my lap. I needed to see it with my own 2 eyes. So, yeah, Miss Barmer had pinpointed the location with city records, but neither of us was sure if it was still there. So, it was an abandoned industrial building. Last time it had a valid mailing address was 50 years ago. So that tracks on the address from the confession. It might have caved in for all we knew. I think I also wanted to be the one to crack it, Whether or not it was dumped into my lap, that case hung over my head for 20 years. Miss Balmer and I agreed to meet there on the following morning.
Can you describe the crime scene?
Yeah. So it was an industrial building, as I stated. Approximately 120 feet long, maybe 45 feet wide. It was a wooden structure. And at first, the conditions seemed to match the neighboring buildings. However, I noticed that the facade of it had been recently patched in a few locations. Further investigation also revealed that the entrance to it had been chained and locked. And but my understanding was that it used to be a sheet metal shop. At least, I'm sorry, excuse me. Is there a garbage can? I think I'm going to throw up. Yeah, thank you. Whatever gag noises, yeah. Yeah, Hunter, could you throw up on demand for me? That'd be appreciated.
That'd be so funny if I was like,
just projectile all over stuff. Thanks, Hunter. Appreciate you. Sorry, I thought I was empty. No, I want to get this done with. Then I'm gonna want that sedative. I could smell something from inside the building. Very faintly. I figured that would count as probable cause. Not that I need it as a civilian, but you never forget the way that a corpse smells, you know? They were bad enough that they had that same smell. Like a corpse, that is. I hadn't forgotten how to pick a lock, so I let myself inside. You know, I really do wish that they had just been corpses. And I like I said earlier, I really do wish that he had been a serial killer. I do. Please say that you believe me.
I do. Can you describe the interior of the building?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm trying to focus through this. I apologize. I'm sorry. I am. It's just that I'd like to go asleep after this for a really long time. Is that paramedic here? Does he have a sedative ready? Okay, thank goodness. Okay, so get through it. The warehouse had not been as abandoned as we were previously led to believe. The interior had a hallway, and in this hallway there was there were 6 rooms. And the construction was old, but visibly newer than the rest of the building, so sort of an addition. The walls between each room had been soundproofed. So there were no windows to the outside or doorways between the rooms themselves. So the only access was through the hallway. None of the rooms could get to each other, see each other, hear each other. I tried to make Miss Bomber leave at that point because, you see, the smell was stronger inside, and you could feel it, the smell. It was like a grit stuck in your nose. It's like feeling, it's like sand, like grits of sand all over your skin. The rooms contained presses. Hydraulic presses. They were 4 foot by 8 foot. These like custom presses. I couldn't figure out what they were at first because they were hovering over what looked like hospital beds. So there were IV bags in each room, as well as other medical equipment. That's how he kept them alive for so long, of course. I think I'm kind of seeing, I think I'm starting to see black spots right now.
Do you need to take a break or?
The idea of having to start this again is worse than the idea of finishing it.
Then please describe your next course of action.
The building was obviously an active crime scene. I had no doubt at this point. I was in the lair of what I believe to be what I thought was a serial killer. I tried to tell Miss Bomber to leave several times. She refused on the grounds that it would not be right to leave me on my own. There wasn't much to make an issue out of it. My opinion of her was that she was a bit nosy, but basically all right. And I didn't think she'd be a liability if she stayed out of my way. So I had to make a judgment call as to whether or not I should proceed on my own in case the family was somehow, impossibly still alive and perhaps in danger, or if I should leave and call for backup. I told my wife where I was going previously, so I knew my absence would be noted and reported if the worst were to happen. And neither of us could get cell phone reception. I'm sorry, I'm rambling again. It was then that I heard. I mean, really, it wasn't even a gasp. It was like a gasp, but not really, I don't want to describe it any more than that. There was a sound. I'll say that. It drew my attention further on, and I had to act, and that's all that matters. There were some stairs at the very far end of the warehouse, descending to a basement. I told Miss Bomber to remain behind and pulled my service revolver. I had a flashlight on my person as well and turned it on as I descended into the basement. The basement had been hand dug, maybe even over the course of the entire 20-year disappearance, for all I know. I don't know. The floor was dirt, and there was a tunnel that retreated back far enough that it had to be supported with struts at intervals. So yeah, then when my flashlight first illuminated the stack, I wish they'd been dead. I wish he'd been a serial killer.
Please take a moment.
After I recovered, my first thought was, honestly, it was thank God that they're dead. I'm 64 years old, for God's sakes. I'm not a young man who can forget things anymore like I used to. When you're young, you have this sense that you're like invincible, and you're never gonna die. I don't have that to protect me anymore. I mean, look at me whining when they had that done to them. It's my fault. I should have found them, saved them. I don't know. I don't know how. Somehow. Anyhow.
I'm sorry, Hob. I'm sorry. I've got to ask. Can you describe the scene?
Yeah. I can. I didn't know what I was looking at first. I mean, hell, I still don't. It was a stack. Maybe 2 feet thick. From the stink and the coloring, it was obviously made of flesh. I thought maybe he had hacked them up, and then like stacked them up in pieces like that. That would have been bad enough. But the first thing that alerted me to the truth was the eyeball. On top of the stack was a perfectly round eye in the middle of a socket that had been distorted to the size of a saucer. That's when I realized what I was looking at. 20 years of torture, basically, is what I was looking at. He had the entire Driscoll family under those presses for 20 years. he was keeping them alive on an IV drip, increasing the pressure on them so very slowly that their bodies had time to adapt until they had been flattened, like pancakes. He squished them by about a 1/4 inch every year for 20 years. And then he'd pulled them out when they were too broken, wretched to move, without any chance of recovery, and then he just stacked them on top of each other. I don't know. I have no idea for. I don't want to know what for. And I was still thinking, thank God they're all dead, when the one on top started gasping again.
What did they say?
Well, they didn't say anything at first. Nothing at first. It couldn't speak without help. I think it would have been Avery Driscoll. Not that I could tell much about the gender or the age, but the hair was blonde, where there was hair at least. The head was a mess of scars. I think the son of the bitch who did it must have removed parts of their skulls. I've got no idea how he got their heads so flat. Otherwise, not as flat as the rest of the bodies, sure, but flat. Who the hell knows how their brains handled that? Their lips were like they were punctured by their own teeth everywhere after the presses had flattened out their noses, I guess. Avery was 14 when she disappeared. I've stopped shaking. Wow. That's damn weird, the way our bodies work, isn't it? What else? There was a machine. It was a sort of pump. I followed a hose with my flashlight and realized everyone in the stack was hooked up to that pump. I don't think they could breathe on their own, not after a while. There simply wasn't enough volume for their lungs to inflate. There was some sort of opening cut right into each of their chest, and there was a switch on the pump. I don't know why I pressed it. I was in a panic. I wanted to do something. Maybe some stupid part of me thought that if I switched it on, they would inflate and be okay, So I switched it, and it increased the volume of air to the topmost hose, and I could hear the pump working harder, which is when Avery started to scream. He begged me to kill him. He said other things too. He didn't make much sense. He kept yelling "Bane of Error" over and over again. Something about the family too. Didn't understand it. He was in pain, and I hope, or at least I would hope, that he had gone insane several years previously.
Oh my God.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly. Funny enough. I didn't know what to do. He wouldn't stop screaming. I think he was convinced I was his torturer. A closer look at his eye revealed that it was mostly a mess of white scar tissue. He was blind as a bat. That thing quit working a while ago. I spoke with some burn victims once, and they told me that they managed to find meaning and purpose again after a while. And that makes sense. That makes sense for them. I get it. But I don't know how anyone in the Driscoll family could have done that. I said my name. I told him I was a detective. I told him I was there to help. I repeated it over and over again, knowing, of course, that there was nothing that anyone anywhere could do to help. Miss Bomber arrived. She was drawn by the sound. Before she saw the stack, she told me that I had screamed and she had come to help, but I don't remember having done that. But nevertheless, she had arrived, so I must have. Then she saw the stack and screamed, but I was intent. I was like looking at Avery Driscoll, and he was able to hear. So he became lucid for a few moments, and it was a strain to understand what he said. But I'll never forget what I think he said. You know, he said something to the effect of, "Please kill me. It hurts. I don't want to be a monster. Kill me, kill me. Tell my family I died a long time ago. I don't know if they're still looking for me. Don't let them know what happened to me. Please kill me." He could still cry somehow, and he did. Although his tear ducts were they were too deformed for it to be noticeable, but I knew what he was doing. I should have forced Miss Bomber to leave. That's the only action in the matter, which I regret more than failing to solve the case, 20 years ago. Not just for her own sake, but, for what she did next. I don't think she could have wounded them any more deeply if she tried. She took away the last comfort any of them in the stack had. So you see, they had not been able to speak to one another for 20 years. And so she looks at them and she says, "That's all of them, isn't it? That's the entire Driscoll family. They're all alive in there, the whole family." So for 20 years, to understand why that meant so much, for 20 years, each member of the Driscoll family had been unaware that their fellow inmates were the other members of the family. So they were blind, like I mentioned, they couldn't hear each other. So they'd all been holding out hope that their family was okay. All of them probably dreaming someone out there, loved them and was free from suffering. Do you know what the screams of 6 people tortured over 2 decades, smashed down to a width of 4 inches, sounds like when they're all stacked on top of one another? I'll tell you what it sounds like. It sounds like the gates of hell swinging open.
I think that's enough, Detective Milgate.
Well, not yet, actually. So it was my mistake. I should have tried harder. I tracked down that lead. Maybe that's what they meant, screaming that. It was my error, so it was my responsibility. So I did the only thing I could do to help them at this point. I shot them. Mercy's hard, but I owed it to them. I'm the one that failed to save them. So it only took 1 bullet, to go all the way through. I emptied the revolver though. I wanted to make sure they didn't linger another second if they didn't have to. To give them that final piece. It was the only kindness I had to give them. So we left and we called for backup. After that, neither Miss Bomber nor I wished to remain with the bodies. I elected not to follow the crime scene investigators back into the basement. I asked if I could make my statement and leave, and after one of them saw what I had seen, they agreed. That sedative I talked about, can I have that now?
Yes. Yes, of course.
Okay, all right, cool, thank you. Please show in the paramedic. I'll roll up my sleeve. My wife's diabetic, so I'm well aware of the routine. Please make sure you have the same courtesy available for Miss Bomber. She seemed to have it worse than me, afterwards at least. That poor woman couldn't even throw up or cry.
Of course. Do you know where she is now? She told the lead of the crime scene she was going home, but we haven't been able to reach her.
Did you try the paper?
Which paper?
Her paper, the Daily World.
Are you sure? There's no one with the last name Bomber on staff with the Daily World.
And with that, we have the end of the story.
So old Bomber was the one who did it, you think, huh?
I think that's the implication. Or she was like an accomplice or something like that, yeah.
Her last name was Bane.
Oh, Bomber. Yeah, what was it?
Bane of Air, Bomber.
Bane of Air, Bomber. Yeah. Didn't put it together.
Maybe. That's just what I read in the comments there. What'd you think of that one?
It was fun. I enjoyed reading it.
A lot of detective stuff today. I love like transcripts back and forth.
A lot of yeah, a lot of that and Eyeless Jack.
That and Eyeless Jack, which you can't put a price on gold.
You can't. See, now you're getting it. How do I feel about that one?
I think it has an interesting. I liked it. I think that it's fun to have the people pressed together like a weird pancake thing. Even though I have no idea what you would get. I don't know what you would get out of that. It's kind of like a weird form of torture or whatever, but maybe a bit more of the investigative side, or maybe even it would have been fun to have it not be a transcript and just be like a log or something, like you're following the person on the first time of this, which I know that it sets up the kind of the very creepypasta ending of you have the person being like, but there is no person named this at the Daily World. Or
yeah,
whatever.
The ending's kind of like stereotypical. I can't tell you how many creepypastas I've read that have ended like, oh, what do you mean? That was my best friend Clay. And they're like, Clay's been dead for 14 years.
Yeah.
Like
what?
Yeah. It kind of does that. So I'm not crazy about that.
The idea of hydraulic. It's kind of the same thing, the same complaint I have with Jigsaw, where it's like, yeah, you're an engineer, but how the hell do you have the money or resources to like set up these elaborate things? Like in Jigsaw or Saw, the movie Saw, it's like, how many industrial park places are abandoned for you to set up these crazy traps? And with this, it's kind of like, how did they set up? I mean, what were the dimensions again? It was like 6 feet by 8 feet, like huge.
Massive. It's a human pancake press.
It's a hydraulic press, which once again, for the story, it's fiction, whatever, you can have the suspension of belief. But still, I'm just like, who has the resources to do that?
I felt, so I was actually kind of laughing a bit leading up to, because I could tell like where he was going as soon as he said stack. I knew what he was getting at.
I looked at the camera like, okay.
I was starting to giggle a bit. It wasn't as bad as I thought it'd be. I thought they were going to be like completely formed pancakes. Like
I thought somebody was going to be eating them, or like cannibalism, because the whole thing too is like, oh, they're getting ready for breakfast. It's like, just because you squash somebody like a pancake, I guess it's because then it makes it seem like the person has like a pancake fetish, because they even send them a menu. It's like, you can squash somebody, that doesn't mean like they're a pancake. Like, what the fuck?
There's also questions where he's like, yeah, someone can be flat, but like pancakes a bit of an exaggeration, I guess. I mean, I get it, but whatever. But what he was talking about, he saw the stack. I thought they were going to be perfectly formed pancakes, stuff. So that's why I was laughing a bit. But thankfully, there was some level of trying to incorporate biology. Like they have a machine for their lungs. They're blinded.
Yeah, I mean, like the body horror aspect of it is flex.
Cool. Like that works kind of well. Yeah. That there's some thought given to the logistics of it. But that being said,
to me, it falls into the worst category where it's not totally incompetent and stupid to be really funny, but it doesn't leave enough lasting impression to where, like, I feel like it's just kind of forgettable. You know?
There's not really a narrative or anything. Like I said, I had fun reading it, but there's not really a narrative. It's just kind of like, oh, here's a bad thing that happened. And then you are like taken, like, isn't this disturbing? Be disturbed. And you're like, well, I mean, I guess if I saw this in real life, that'd be pretty bad, but I'm reading about it. And that, but if it doesn't catch you as like, oh, this is so disturbing, then it just falls through. It's just a guy describing something he saw for a while. It's honestly, you haven't seen this yet, but for the audience, it's honestly like urban spook. A lot of that work. I have the same critiques about this that I do that. Like, if it doesn't get you as being so like, oh, this is awful, then it's not going to do anything for you.
Yeah.
I liked the writing in some parts. I think.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I think
that
some
was nice.
I think some of the dialogue was a bit like him continuously asking for the sedatives. I thought was a bit overplayed.
Yeah, it's like what do you mean? You went to do an investigation and you're like, does a paramedic have sedatives or whatever? It's like, that's kind of weird.
Which I get it. It's like the guy's shaking up, but I feel like there's other ways you could go about it. I mean, like all in all, I'm finding more and more though. I really like these detective kind of like. I like the idea of somebody actually trying to uncover something and like it's somebody's duty and job. Like that's always a fun way to play with a narrative, in my opinion. So I would be interested to see more of these. And it's nice too that it's not a kid, or it's not like it doesn't come from this perspective of like a teenager and like, you know, kind of like a group of kids or something that are dealing with something kind of like it, or, you know, like Baraska, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I kind of like the idea of it being like an older investigator. It's just that it felt different in that way from some of the other stuff we've read. At least it felt unique in that way.
It's kind of just a description of a thing that happened, and if that descriptor is not super intense, over the top, spooky to you, then it's kind of whatever. But if you really like this story because you found the whole human squish concept scary or like creepy, then you know I totally understand. But for me, whenever he's like, "Oh, I walked in," I knew where he was going, where he's like, none of the rooms could hear each other. And then there was a press above a hospital bed. I like paused for a second. I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah. It's just like 6 feet by 8 feet wide hydraulic press. I mean, do you understand the engineering? Like how crazy big that fucking thing would be. Also, the whole thing too.
This is like an auto manufacturer level of
you're
scale.
Keeping them alive through an IV drip. It's the problem is, it's funny enough actually when I was reading this, because I was kind of like okay, this is where we're going. It was kind of the same critiques I had with that movie Longlegs, where it was like you introduce an interesting
watch your mouth, watch your tone.
you introduce an interesting element through this investigation, right, of like a crime, but you really don't do anything that's earned through investigating it. The same thing with Longlegs, of like the person just drops off the code to be like, hey, here, decipher this now because it's time. It's the same thing of like, oh, the killer just kind of shows up to the detective and is like, hey, I have some leads, and it feels like nothing feels earned. And then it's just like the shock value aspect of it for the sake of shock value. And I think that's like the really integral part of like if you do a kind of like detective kind of crime thriller, is you have to have like the fun stuff of the fun visuals, but then you need to have an interesting investigation, kind of like Seven or Silence of the Lambs, to where you're watching these reporters go through, or detectives really go through the ringer of unveiling these things that leads to a very finite, satisfying conclusion that also acts as like a character arc for them as well. It's just kind of the thing, which, to be fair, it's a short internet horror story. It is what it is. But I just think it's interesting because I do think that this could be done in a really sweet way. Maybe not pressing people into pancakes for just the sake of them being pancakes, but even just the idea of it's horrifying thinking people are being abducted and tortured for 20 years. That's like also disgusting.
What was the not safe for work tag on that? Like
I'm guessing it's the very graphic detail of how they're pressed and stuff, because there was some elements of like mutilation and stuff. Nothing as crazy as we've seen, but I wonder if they're just being safe for, like, you know, better safe than sorry.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So, all in all, though, I want to say too, I think that you did a great job with the voice acting of that guy. Like a very shaky thing. I thought that you did a really good job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I figured might as well have fun with it. Right, it got hard to keep that go. I really wanted to break when he was like,
I heard a couple times, and I was trying not to derail it either, but I was like, yeah, let's just keep the pace going. So I'm glad you didn't break. But no, I'm curious to see what people think too. I do think I like the first story a lot. I think that was the highlight of today. Besides, obviously, Eyeless Jack being very funny, but
Eyeless Jack was my highlight.
But I think like the disappearance of Ashley, Kansas is just a fun concept. It didn't go too far. I think that you could, like with that thing, it's like almost if it was a movie or something, that would be a really fun movie to watch. Something like that. Kind of, I don't know why, but it had elements of like The Bay, of like that, those like time unfolding in a way through footage that is found, like found footage. I could see the disappearance of Ashley, Kansas being something similar.
Yeah, I liked it. That was pretty. I think that was the best story we read today. But my favorite was Eyeless Jack.
Yeah. Oh, also, I just want to say too.
It was my kidney.
Just want to say, the last thing we recorded, we didn't know what our tickets were. Like the tour sold out like almost instantly. So we're looking forward to seeing all you guys. We got some fun stuff.
I think there's
planned.
60 seats left across all 4
I think
shows
across
or
GA,
something
but
like
I don't know. I've been seeing people. I don't know. Even by this time, it could be totally. But it's basically sold out. So we appreciate you. I've been seeing people try to fucking do scalping
you all
tickets.
Are incredibly cool.
Yes,
I'm blown away by that. Thank you guys very much. Means a lot.
But until next time, y'all, we appreciate you. Stay very, very scared out there, and also be sure to send some stories or give us any stuff that you might want us to read. This was a fun one. I think this was a good little thread of suggestions, so we appreciate it.
It was a good mix-up, and thank you all very much for watching. Thank you all so much for the support you've shown on everything, from the merch to the tickets. It really does mean the world, so thank you all. But with that, I think we're done, so stay creeped out.
Stay creeped, you stupid sons of bitches. How's that? Is that going?
Okay, well, maybe that's a bit much.
Stay creeped, you assholes.
That's still a bit violent.
You fucking vile dogs.
How about stay spooky, you bunch of dorks. Stay spooky, you creeps. There you go.
There you go. Bye.
There we go. Yeah, bye.